This is a tutorial on how to do columns. A column is the ability basically to have things on two different sides of the page or three different sides of the page at the same time. Right now I'm in what's called one column mode, and I can tell that I'm in one column mode because this up at the top, which is called the ruler, I have kind of this white bar going across. If you cannot see the ruler, what you can do is you can go to the View tab and you can basically check the ruler. See, it's gone, now it's back. So again, the white area is where I can type, the gray areas is where I cannot type. What I can do instead is, I can go to what's called the Layout tab, and I can go to Columns. In the Layout tab with columns, what I can do is I can switch it, for example, to two column mode. Now see how this gray area appears? So now when I type, see how the moment that the text hits the gray area, it just goes on to like a new line? If I were in one column mode, what will happen instead is it would basically go across this way. So there's two column mode that way. Now, if I select kind of the text and I say columns, it's going to basically put it onto kind of two column mode. But if I basically kind of do it this way and kind of do two things and I select it, sometimes it will also break it kind of in half. But it just depends on kind of what you're selecting. Normally it will just kind of move everything onto one column. But if I press enter a bunch of times, now I'm on the right side of the page. See, I'm now on the second column. And I basically type, again, more things, more things. It's just going to be on this side. So these two things are separated. However, watch this. If I press enter, see how they're both moving down? That's because this line is actually pressing down onto this one, so they're both moving. If I want to fix that and like things are kind of getting out of order, I can press backspace. Or what I can do is I can press the small delete key. And the small delete key is on the right side of your keyboard, near the enter key. It says delete, and that's how I can basically kind of make something delete backwards. So if I click backspace, it basically moves it all up. But if I basically press enter and I say delete, it only kind of backs that one up. So delete and backspace are very useful for working with columns. Now, let's say I want to have a situation where, back to one column mode, I have a title. So this is my title. And then I'm going to say, you know, left side and right side. I don't want this to be in a column though. I want this to be in a column. I want this to be in a column, but I do not want this to be in a column. If I go to layout mode and I switch these to columns, they're all in one column and this one is not going to be in the middle anymore. So I got to fix that. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go to here and I'm going to say columns, more columns. And this time when I select it and I say 2, instead of saying apply to the whole document, I'm going to say from this point forward. Or what I could do is I could select them, and again, more columns, and I could say apply to selected text. So, only do it to this stuff. In addition, it might be useful to have a line between them. So let's try that. I'm going to go right before left side, columns, more columns, and then say 2 columns, line between, and this point forward. Now, see, I'm now in 2 column mode. Left side and right side, they're both in 2 column mode. But if I click up here, this is 1 column mode. So this line is in 1 column mode, but this line is in 2 column mode. Now if I press enter to move this down, enter, 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 eventually it will get to the right side. And see, now there is another line in the middle, and then this is on the right side. So then basically I could go down and I could say, all right, I'm kind of done with the columns. I don't want there to be columns anymore. So I could type, you know, not columns, and I could select this, and I could say more columns, 1 column, apply to selected text. And see, now this area is back in one column mode. This area, one column mode. And then again, I'm going to go, delete to kind of bring it back. And then I now have three things. I have this thing in one column mode, these two in two column mode, and then this one back in one column mode. So as you can see, the ruler is pretty critical to tell if you're in one column mode or not. Just be aware again, if you use these ones right here, this is a whole document one, and this can kind of mess things up. If I click on 2, sometimes everything can go into 2 column mode, it can really mess things up. So you generally want to go through more columns, you'll get a bit more flexibility. Columns are very, very useful for keeping things organized so you can see one thing on one side and one thing on the other. They're great for comparisons. However, they can be pretty tricky to use. So practice with them, making sure you have the ruler on so you can kind of see if something is in one column mode or 2 column mode. And don't forget, if something goes wrong and you make a mistake, don't forget the shortcut, Control Z. That will just undo it. So if you make a mistake, just do a quick Control Z and you will go back to your previous action. So if you try to make a column and everything goes crazy, just press Control Z and it will go back. So again, just to review columns. Columns are found in the Layout tab, right here. If you do these ones, it will make the entire page a column, or 2 or 3. But if you go to more columns, you'll have more control over it because you can do things like the line between, and you can say apply to this section, apply to this point forward, apply to the whole document, apply just to selected text. In addition, the other important part is the ruler. If you do not see the ruler, make sure you click View and make sure ruler is on. That is how you can work with columns in Microsoft Word.